Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're going to call the meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call. With the other commissioners present, please state their names.
Darcy Rourke.
Barbara Baskerville.
And I'm Adam Murray. The commissioners are all here, so we'll go ahead and go into our period of open public comment. Is there anyone from the public that wants to comment today? All right, hearing none, we'll go into, okay.
Andy Caldwell, you've been sent a request to unmute. If you can go ahead and unmute and then state your comment for the record after stating your full name.
Andy Caldwell. Am I set to go?
You are. Go ahead with your comment.
Okay. I did want to offer just a public comment about the process. I've been trying to track and understand the process. I'm Jason's father-in-law, and when this initial complaint came out, it didn't make logical sense for me. So I waited till the investigation was completed and reviewed the documents. And the investigative summary that was provided was just riddled with errors, empirical errors, not subjective ones. And it was concerning to me that there was no period of grievance to grieve what the investigator documented and failed to document, as far as like contacting law enforcement officials that were witnesses, contacting witnesses that were provided to just prove the absolute just inaccuracy or just how bad the complaint was and how out in left field it was. And so my concern that I just wanted to address before the hearing or in public comment was that there was no process allowed for him to grieve that investigation prior to being sent over to the commission for review. And I believe that's an error, and it's a great disservice to government employees that this can almost be a runaway train. And someone in Jason's position where this kind of hearing has an impact on his career and his potential future earnings, I am concerned that process wasn't thought out greater, and he wasn't afforded the opportunity to just even let witnesses come forward and say how inaccurate that report is. Because again, just full of outright inaccuracies, to include timelines, just factual inaccuracies. So I just wanted to offer that before the commission went, that process did seem quite a bit unfair and a disservice for government employees. So thank you for your time, and I'll sit back and listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Is there anybody else? Public comment? Nope.
That concludes public comment.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move into approval of the minutes. Commissioners, did you have a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
And do we have a motion to approve them?
I so move.
Second.
All right, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimously approved the minutes. The next thing we're going to do is move into our formal hearing on review of complaint number 2024-11. And we're going to go ahead and start with a discussion about the motion to stay the proceedings. My own opinion about this is that the motion mostly challenges the sufficiency of the county's investigation report. And to me, the county's investigation report speaks for itself. And this is Mr. Noble's opportunity to challenge its content and to convince us that we ought to consider something else. So I will be voting to deny the motion. Do either of the other commissioners want to discuss further, or do we have a motion?
I would just like to agree with you because I think all of the things stated were things that would come up in a hearing to be presented if there are people to present those things. And rather than stay it, they should just be heard and we can be done with it. So I am agreeing with you, Alan.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, I would as well. So do you need a motion?
The counsel for Mr. Noble would like to speak, so let's give him a couple minutes.
Yeah, so my name is James Treefry. I'm General Counsel of the Washington State Council of County and City Employees. I have made a motion. I emailed it to the county 2 weeks ago, did not hear any response back from counsel for the commission or from counsel representing human resources to see if we were going to actually have a hearing today. Mr. Caldwell in public comment kind of stole my thunder in terms of addressing some specific issues in terms of the report. The reason that the procedure is set up as it is for the Ethics Commission in Clark County is for the Human Resources Department to make a good faith investigation to try to get to the facts before it's brought before the commission to consider a public hearing that would have the effect of potentially slandering someone's reputation if there wasn't an adequate investigation conducted by HR. In this particular circumstance, I've documented several deficiencies in the report that was produced by Human Resources, particularly like factual issues with the primary witness. There were only one witness called. There weren't other witnesses that were identified in the report that was given by the initial complainant. And there were specific witness statements that were regarded as character witnesses in the report that was completed by HR. The file name was character witnesses that was transmitted to the county that contained those individual eyewitness reports that were entirely disregarded. There were 7 people that provided reports that directly contradicted the complainant's version of events. There's video that shows his timestamp in terms of what he alleged is incorrect. There is a series of problems associated with these allegations that the commission relied on in getting us to the hearing today. And so I'm also raising that same flag of due process for my union member, Mr. Noble, that this should go back to Human Resources before there's a public hearing on these specious allegations that don't have a factual basis, and the preponderance of evidence does not support if HR had done their job, had done an adequate investigation. It's so bad, the investigator names Mr. Mike Boyer, who's the union staff representative, as the Clark County local president in the report, is one of the people that was conferred with. He hasn't been in that role for
Counsel,
over
if
2
I can,
years.
if I can go ahead and stop you there. My opinion is not changed by these arguments. So I don't know if you want to save some of what you have to say for the hearing.
I want to make my record.
Okay.
So thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I guess the motion is to deny the motion to stay. Am I correct?
It could be.
Okay, so moved.
I second.
Okay, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against say nay. Okay, unanimous that we're going forward with the hearing and the motion's denied. So the way we're going to do this then, if there's someone here who is going to present on behalf of the complainant, who is that person? Nobody here to do that?
I'd move to dismiss the hearing if there's not a complainant to present, because that's a requisite part of the procedure.
Yeah, they should speak.
Is that correct?
Amber Smith, counsel for the commission. The complainant in this circumstance was Fire Marshal Donna Goddard, but also representing HR, who did the investigation. If the commission would so like to hear from them, would be Attorney Mitchell Brink, who I believe was Michael Brink, pardon me, who I believe was on and may be available and may be available for presentation. I will not make that determination for them.
Okay. So we will go ahead then. We'll do opening statements from both parties, starting with Ms. Michael Brink. Did I say that correctly? Good. Okay. And then we'll have the complainant's case. If witnesses are called, counsel, you'll have a chance to cross. Complainant's case will have a chance to redirect, and then we'll just follow the same procedure and go through with closing statements.
I would just make a procedural objection because there's not a provision in the standard procedure for opening comments in the procedures for the Ethics Review Commission. So that's a departure which can be done.
Duly noted that we are in the early phases of developing all of the procedures that we have, and we will be correcting that going forward, but I don't see any reason to delay the hearing.
I'm just again making my record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so do we have an opening statement on behalf of the complaint?
Amanda, are you available for your opening statement?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm having a little bit of connectivity issues. Can someone repeat the issue? Is this about the motion to stay? Hello?
We've already
Echoing,
denied,
you're echoing quite a bit. I can't understand you.
Okay.
we've denied the motion to stay, and we're now looking for an opening statement in support of the complaint.
We're not. I don't have any opening statements or anything like that for this hearing.
Okay, council, opening statement? Okay, no opening statements. So in support of the complaint, would you like to go ahead, Ms. Mitchell-Brink?
I do apologize. I was not aware that the prosecutor's office was presenting anything in regards to this matter today. So I don't have anything prepared. I was not planning on presenting anything.
Okay, council, your case?
Again, I move for dismissal at this point. There's been no evidence in the record. Again, I would renew my objection. There has to be the presentation of a complainant's case per the procedures of the Ethics Review Commission. There's an initial threshold that has to be relied on the report that HR conducts, but the factual record is at the hearing. And so if there is no presentation of a case in terms of supporting a complaint against Mr. Noble, I would ask that this action be dismissed. I can't defend something that's not been presented.
The case is presented as presented in the investigation report, and it sounds like you're prepared to argue against that.
That's incorrect with the procedure of the Ethics Review Commission. There has to be a record made at a public hearing. You can't rely on a report from HR that forms the basis of going to hearing as the evidence in the record.
The report is in the public record.
It's not part of the record for purposes of the hearing and presentation today based on your procedures.
Okay, we're going forward with your case. We're ready to hear your arguments.
Against what, sir?
Against the investigation report. You had a lot to say about that a few minutes ago. Why not just continue?
So there's no presentation, there's no prosecution by the county today. That's what's required in the rules for the Clark County
Can you
Ethics
point
Review
me to the
Commission.
rule that says that we must have a case put on by the prosecuting attorney?
I'm happy to. I have it referenced. I have it.
All right,
And I'm happy to go through that with you.
all right, I will consider it.
So this is the administrative procedures process of the Clark County Ethics Review Commission. That's located on the Clark County website. And it has several procedures, 1 through 8. I will read them forthwith into the record. Number 1, hearings conducted by the commission shall be informal with technical rules of evidence not applying to the proceedings except for the rules of privilege recognized by law. Legal counsel and or a bargaining representative may represent the complainant or respondent. Each of the complainant and respondent may provide testimony, call witnesses, cross-examine witnesses, and offer evidence to the commission. The commission may call witnesses on its own motion and may request the production of any documents or materials, including electronic, paper, or evidence. The commission may request further testimony and evidence on its own behalf or on behalf of the complainant or the respondent. The commission may adjourn its hearing from time to time to allow for the orderly presentation of evidence. 2, upon motion of complainant or respondent, or upon its own motion, the commission may temporarily stay or permanently suspend its hearings when its informed discretion, the manifest needs of justice and fairness will be better served thereby. 3, briefs, memoranda, documentation, and related materials the complainant or the respondent submits for review by the commission must be submitted to the county manager's designee in writing no later than 10 business days prior to the scheduled hearing. 4, the county manager's designee shall prepare an official record of the hearing, including all testimony, which shall be recorded manually or electronically, and exhibits, provided the commission shall not be required to transcribe such records unless an individual entitled to knowledge of the contents of the records presents a request accompanied by payment of the cost of transcription. 5, a hearing shall include but not be limited to A, a brief introductory statement by the chair, B, presentation of the complainant investigation report by the Clark County Human Resources Director, which has not occurred. The complainant shall have an opportunity to provide testimony, call witnesses whom respondent shall have an opportunity to cross-examine, and offer evidence to the commission. After the complainant rests, the respondent shall have an opportunity to provide testimony, call witnesses from whom complainant may shall have an opportunity to cross-examine and offer evidence to the commission. E, the commissioners may question the complainant, following which the commissioners may question the respondent. And F, each of the respondent and the complainant may present a summary or closing argument. 6, the chair may alter the order of presentation of evidence. 7, hearings shall be open to the public, provided the commission may hold executive sessions pursuant to the Washington Open Public Meetings Act. Because such hearings are quasi-judicial in nature, public participation is not allowed. Only the parties, their representatives, or witnesses called by the parties may address the commission. Deliberations by the commission will be conducted in closed executive session. Executive session is a closed to the public portion of the meeting. 8, the final decision of the commission shall be made by motion and vote in an open public meeting. There's been no formal presentation of the report from the Human Resources Director, and again, I would state the same objection.
Your objection is noted, but it's overruled. Go ahead with your case.
I would like to get the basis for your overruling of my motion, Mr. Chair.
I don't read those rules as requiring the presentation of a case at this hearing to the extent that it is. The complainant's case is presented by the investigation report and the prior proceedings. And you should be happy. All you have to argue against is the things that you've already had for weeks. There's no reason for you to, there's no prejudice to your client in this case.
Mr. Chair, there is, because there's been false allegations made and the procedures are being varied from in terms of the requirements of a presentation of a case on behalf of the complainant, which is
Okay,
absent from.
your objection is noted and it's overruled. Go ahead with your case.
Okay. Having made my many objections on the record to the procedures that I think are violative of Mr. Noble's due process, I will begin by calling his spouse, Rebecca Noble. And where would you like her to be?
Where should we put witnesses? Okay, next to counsel? Okay. Good afternoon. Can you state your name, please?
Rebecca Noble.
Thank you, Rebecca Noble. Will you please raise your right hand? And do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
And can you please tell me how long you've known Jason Noble and in what way?
Oh, we have just had our 11th year anniversary. That's exciting. I've known Jason since like 2012.
And we're here regarding an incident that occurred in the fall of last year at the Dan and Shay concert. Are you familiar with that?
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Yes.
And do you remember approximately when that occurred?
September 12th,
Of what year?
2024.
And how did you come to be at the concert that day?
I really wanted to see Dan and Shay, and I knew my husband was working the concert. So I rallied some of my friends because he wasn't going to take the concert off to take me. So I got some of my friends together and we all decided that it'd be a fun way to spend our evening. So
And then approximately how many people were in your party for the concert that day?
there was 10 of us, including me.
And then what interactions, if any, did you have with Rodney Harvey that day?
After we made it to the concert, we drove in separate cars. So we all gathered. There were a couple on duty sheriffs maybe, and a lot of my friends are all first responders' wives. So we were going to take a picture with some of the sheriffs, and Rodney was kind of lingering around. And then I don't even think I met him personally. He hopped in a picture with us, flexed his muscles, and then that was it. I didn't see him for the rest of the evening. So I don't think I even said any words to him.
And when you were referring to a picture with Mr. Harvey, I'm going to present this picture. It's already an exhibit that the union submitted as part of its motion.
Thank you, counsel.
And I would ask that all those exhibits be admitted into the record that were part of my initial motion if that is done without objection.
So admitted.
And could you just tell me who is present in this photograph as best you recollect?
Yes, myself. And then I've actually got two of my friends here with me, Haley and Chelsea, are in the picture. I've got a friend, Jolie. Shada is there. She's actually a current police officer. And Megan is there and Stacy Shutterly is there. And then we're missing 3 others that were there with us that evening, but their car hadn't got there yet. This was just very beginning. And then there's 2 sheriffs behind us that we don't know, but took a picture with. And then there's Rodney, who I also don't know, but took a picture with us.
Apologies for interrupting, but just a point of order for council. If you could speak closer to the microphone, I believe one of our commissioners is having to strain to hear you. Sorry, it's attached. Witness is speaking well into the mic, but I think council's not being heard as well.
Okay. And then that night after you arrived at the venue, what occurred next?
After we arrived, we gathered, we took the picture. My friends went to go find our spot in the grass because we had grass seats. Went to go find a good spot. You want the whole night?
No, that's fine. And then what happened after your friends left to go to the seats in the grass?
Jason and I caught up with him real fast. How was your day? Hadn't seen him. He'd been gone all day. Caught up real fast, decided we're going to go to concessions. The side we were at, I think, was closed. One of the sides was closed. And if you ask me east and west, I'm not going to know. I apologize. And then we decided to go to the other side.
Okay, no, that's fine.
It was so
And
long ago. I'm so sorry.
Had you eaten or drinking anything prior to getting to the venue that day?
Nope. I mean, sure, dinner.
No. Did you have any alcohol that day prior to
No.
arriving at the venue?
Nope.
Okay. And then you went to the one side of concessions that were closed. And then what did you do after that?
Yep. And then all my friends were going to go get some drinks on the other side. So we were going to go join them, or Jason was going to walk me to go find them before he had to go do whatever he does. He said, we're close to here. We can go the back way. So we went over to the back way. There was a woman at the gate. He said, hey, can I take my wife around to the other side? And she said, not today. And then we said, oh, okay, thank you. And then we walked back around through the grass area.
And then after that, did you go with your friends and get food or drink on the other side?
Yes,
Okay. And then after you did that, did you go back to your seats or where did you go?
to the grass. Yep.
And then while you were on the grass, was that prior to the concert beginning or was the concert underway at that point?
Oh, we sat down, got up, went to the restroom, sat back down. So we were seated before the concert started, before the opening act even started.
And did Mr. Noble come by and see you guys while you were sitting in the grass areas? He was doing his work?
Nope. If I remember, I think he just ditched me there. Thought that's safe enough. And then I'll maybe see you later when we run into each other.
Is that okay? And then when was the next time that you saw Mr. Noble?
He came to us probably halfway through the Dan and Shay set with a Dan and Shay security guard. And we had actually been offered 2 times prior to move up. It was a really underattended concert. And Jason had actually been texting me that they might cancel part of the show that was supposed to come out because there weren't enough people for it. And if so, he was going to go. So there was some of that. But he came with a Dan and Shay security and said, hey, do you want to come on up? We're moving people up. And at that point, we were like, sure, because the concert was finaling in. We had said no the first 2 times to just employees of the amphitheater because it was still early and it was a really nice night and we didn't want to yell to talk to each other. By the time the music had started is when we moved up.
And then, and when you did move up, were they offering other people around you the same ability to move closer to the stage to condense the crowd?
Yes, we were not the first and we were not the last. The first time round, a big old chunk of people in front of us had actually accepted and moved, giving us more space. So we were going to stay because it was just a bunch of moms.
If I may, can I ask a question? So is this moving up? And I apologize, I'm not familiar with the venue. Is this moving up to the pit, what's called the pit in the?
Yeah, there's a couple phases, I think. I don't actually know how, I've actually only been to the grass seats because they're the nice airy seats. So yes, moving from the grass, and then there's a walkway, and then there's where you can sit and stand.
Okay, thank you.
I'm obviously a professional on the topic, so.
Thank you.
And then after you guys moved to the pit, did you see Mr. Noble again?
Yes, well, he was with us. He helped facilitate. He said, "Hey, this security guard wants to talk to you." So we talked to him. Do you guys want to move up? Yep. We followed him to the side where he gave us our wristbands. Again, didn't run into Rodney again. Dan and Chase security fastened all of our wristbands on one at a time. Super nice. And then Jason was kind of standing back as close as you could to the exit pathway, because he knew that the artists were actually going to leave the stage and walk around the side. So that was what he was looking out for. So him and I actually stood a little bit back closer to where there weren't so many people. And then a lot of my friends moved forward because when in Rome.
And then at what point did Mr. Noble leave the venue?
He left the venue a couple songs before, as soon as it was very evident that he wasn't needed there anymore, that they had canceled that part of the show, that the performers were going to stay on the stage. Yeah, because he ended up beating me home by quite a bit. So he beat the traffic. So before the songs ended.
Okay. And did you witness any indication that Mr. Noble had consumed or been under the influence of alcohol that evening?
No, he's been working those concerts for years. He's no dummy. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but.
We'll just you answer the questions. And then did anyone from Human Resources contact you regarding your attendance at this concert or witnessing Mr. Noble or Mr. Harvey's interactions that night?
Nope, I didn't hear anything up until just here recently for this. It's been one super good ball of anxiety for our entire family.
I have nothing further of this witness, Mr. Chair.
One additional question, Ms. Noble. Does the wristband get you anything other than access to the pit?
No, and he also said that if we had to go to the restroom or anything, that like if we had to take the band off or anything, like this is it. And we're like, oh well, thanks. It was nothing else. We just stood there until the end of the concert and left. No other extra privileges, no other extra anything.
Okay, thank you. Council, any follow-up?
No.
Okay, you're excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would next call Stacy Shetterly, and I believe she's attending virtually. If you can enable her.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Hi, Stacy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. It's James Treefry, Mr. Noble's attorney. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and other people from the commission or the chair, Mr. Adam Murray, might also ask you some questions while I'm asking you questions, okay?
And if
Sounds
we could
great.
first get Ms. Shetterly's affirmation. Ms. Shetterly, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, can I get a point of clarification regarding my prior motion to dismiss based on the presentation of the HR report? I don't believe that was given under oath. In terms of the relative weight of the evidence, if all of my witnesses have to be sworn in and the county's case does not rely on the same sworn testimony, I'm quite concerned from a due process standpoint.
Okay, noted, but we're going to continue with the
That's fine. I just want to make my note for the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me okay again?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you a few questions. We're here regarding incidents that occurred in the fall of last year at the Dan and Shay concert. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you come to be in attendance at the concert that evening?
I was invited by my friends Jolie and Becca, that I should attend with them because they really wanted to get a group together to go to the concert. So I basically bought a ticket, and then I sent money to Becca or Jolie. I'm not sure which one actually bought the tickets, but I sent money to them for reimbursement.
And when you're referring to Becca, are you referring to Rebecca Noble?
Sorry, Rebecca. Yes, Rebecca Noble.
If you call her Becca, that's okay. And then how long have you known Rebecca Noble and or Jason Noble?
For almost 2 years.
And in what capacity do you know them?
Very close friends.
Okay. And the night of the concert, did you arrive with the group or did you arrive separately?
I arrived with the group.
And then when you got to the venue, can you tell me what occurred when you first got into the venue?
Yeah, when we first got into the venue, we were looking around to meet the rest of our party. And in the meantime, because as Becca might have mentioned, that a lot of our friends have first responder husbands, they saw the sheriffs there and wanted to get a picture with them. So we did that. And when we got the picture, that was kind of the midst of where things were at. And then we went and found our seats. So there wasn't really a whole lot happening.
Okay. And then were you in any of the pictures that were taken at the venue that night?
Yes.
Okay. And did you happen to have any interactions with a gentleman by the name of Rodney Harvey?
I did not. I only knew who he was because there was some jokes from the sheriffs about his muscles.
Okay. And then that night, what, if any, interactions did you have with Mr. Jason Noble?
I only had a brief interaction with him when he came over to greet us and say hello. Otherwise, he was working most of the night. I wasn't actually available when he came over with the concert or when they came over with the bands or possibility of moving up. I was informed by Jolie actually that we were moving up. So I was kind of in a point where I only saw Jason once or twice throughout the evening.
Okay. And were you, so you did, were you, let me rephrase that. So did you end up being on the grass as they were moving into the pit area?
I was on the grass, but I was not paying attention to what was happening necessarily until I started seeing my friends gather up our stuff and let me know that we were moving.
Okay. And that evening, when you did interact with Mr. Noble, did he exhibit any of the signs of being intoxicated, or did you observe him consuming any alcohol or other intoxicating substances?
Nope.
Okay. And were you contacted by anybody from Clark County regarding your testimony in regards to this incident prior to today?
No, I was not.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. You are excused.
Thank you.
I would next call Haley Hofeld.
Good afternoon. Can you raise your hand? And do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
James Triefer, I'm going to ask you a few questions. How long have you, well, let me scratch that. How did you end up happening to be at the concert last fall, the Dan and Shay concert at the amphitheater?
Rebecca Noble, she invited me. I don't live close by, and she has her group of gym friends, but she always likes to include me because I'm one of her longer friends and always likes to bring me along. And so she reached out that a group was going, and so I bought a ticket to join them.
And how long have you known Rebecca Noble and or Jason Noble?
We actually just celebrated our 7-year friendiversary. So I've known Becca and Jason for 7 years.
Okay. And in what capacity? Just friends or professional?
I've been friends with them. Jason Noble worked with my ex-husband at the fire department.
Okay. And when you got to the venue that night, were you with the group or did you arrive separately?
I was with the group.
Okay. And what occurred when you first got to the venue?
Similar to what others have said, we got together with the rest of our group inside the venue, and we were kind of making a game plan and gathered to take the photo with the sheriff's department, which is when we met up with Jason. And then we went to go find our seats because the grassy area that we were sitting at doesn't have assigned seating, so it's kind of like first come first serve. So we want to make sure we got our stake on a good spot.
And in that picture that you took was with members of law enforcement, your party, and Mr. Rodney Harvey. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then what if any interactions with Mr. Jason Noble did you have from that point forward that evening?
Yeah, at the beginning I said hi to Jason, and I was trying to get him to tell me the best places to sit since he knows the venue. And then we went and found our spot leaving Jason. And then I saw him briefly when he was in the like sidewalk area. I guess there was a spot there where the concert or the Dan and Shay were going to be possibly singing up there. And so he was like checking on those areas, and I had kind of passed by him going to the bathroom. And then when he came up with security to offer us to move forward to the pit area.
And was Mr. Rodney Harvey present at that time when he came up with the security person?
No, I never interacted or saw Rodney again after that picture we took.
And did they give wristbands to your entire group?
Yes, our entire group and many more people after us, because I remember we went in and then it filled up really quickly behind us.
And
Council, if I may interject with a question, who handed you the wristbands?
The Dan and Shay security guard.
Thank you.
and about how many people were in your party?
We had 10 with our group.
And then once you were upgraded to the pit area, did you have occasion to interact with Mr. Noble again that evening?
Nope. I was up pretty far forward with the rest of the group. We were trying to get closer to the stage because, again, when in Rome.
And did you observe Mr. Noble being under the effects of any intoxicating substances or consuming alcohol or other intoxicating substances that evening?
No, I was not. And I've been with Jason on many occasions personally when we've been having fun, and I know what that's like, and he did not exhibit any signs of that. He's very professional.
And then were you contacted by Clark County Human Resources or anybody else from Clark County prior to today?
No.
Okay. I have nothing further. Thank you.
You're excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next call, Jolie Slavin, please.
Hi.
Ms. Slavin, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Ms. Slavin, my name is James Treefer. I'm the attorney for Mr. Noble, and I'll be asking you a few questions, and I might be not interrupted, but the chair, other commission members might also ask questions while I'm asking you some questions, okay?
Okay.
And can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. First off, we're here today to talk about an incident that occurred in the fall of last year at the Dan and Shay concert. Do you have recollection of that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And how did you come to be at that concert?
Rebecca had mentioned she had wanted to go, and I actually had saw that there was some tickets for $25 through Live Nation, and so I was able to buy 6 of them. And I was like, I texted her and I said, hey, I grabbed 6 tickets. Do you think you can get childcare for the concert? And we found other friends to go. And then we ended up being a group of 10 because we had a couple other friends that wanted to go. And then at that point, Becca bought 4 more tickets for the concert. So I kind of helped orchestrate it.
And when you say Becca, are you referring to Rebecca Noble?
Yes, Rebecca. Yes, we call her Becca. Sorry.
No, that's okay. And that night when you got to the venue, did you arrive by yourself or with the group?
I rode with the group.
Okay. And when you got to the venue, what was the next thing that you did, or what did you observe?
Well, I observed a big sign that said to upgrade. I saw a big sign that said upgrade tickets here, but we were a big group. And so as much fun as I thought it'd be to be closer, I ignored that sign. So that was my first knowledge that the concert was undersold and that they were trying to move people closer into the floor area. And then as we were walking around like that back area where we first walked in, we ran into Jason. He actually introduced me to Rodney Harvey. And we took the pictures with the sheriffs, as everyone has said. And then we took a couple other group pictures, and then we eventually went to the grass.
Okay. And then after you got to the venue, how many interactions and where did you interact with Mr. Rodney Harvey, if there were any besides the picture?
I only recall that one time where we took the picture with him, and Jason actually introduced me to him as the person he knew through Live Nation that worked for the amphitheater.
And what, if any, specific interactions did you have with Mr. Noble that evening, and where were they?
So I remember seeing Jason just during that first time when we first walked in. And then I remember at one point him walking with Becca and I over towards like a merch stand. I don't know if we were going to the bathroom or what, but I remember walking with him there. And then when he came back with the Dan and Shay security guard and was asking us if we would like to move up, that the security guard had offered to walk us into the floor area because Dan and Shay wanted the floor full of fans for, I'm assuming, probably their content and stuff, and to make the concert more fun, that the floor was full. And we understood that like if we went down there, we were supposed to stay there. And Jason then stayed with us for a little bit longer. Him and Becca were talking toward the back of the group, like off to the side towards like the way you would exit the pit or the floor seats. And then I didn't see him until a couple days later, probably when I saw Becca.
And did you notice him leaving the venue at all that day?
I didn't see him going home, no, but I did know when he like left us, because I think he like waved when he was leaving to go finish his whatever his duties were for the evening.
Okay. And you mentioned kind of the upgrades kind of coming in, that they were upgrading seats. Were you offered other upgrades from your seating position prior to Mr. Noble and the security guard coming over to you guys in the grass?
So personally, I did not talk to any of the Live Nation employees, but I did see them come up and talk to our group twice. And then I was like, hey, what are they offering us? And they're like, oh, they were offering us like to move up, but we were, one, comfortable, and two, our friends were kind of all like, some people were in the bathroom, some people weren't there yet, like some people were getting a drink, like some people were buying merch. So we kept saying no thank you because we were comfortable where we were, and it was not anything we were like trying to do.
And that evening, did you observe Mr. Noble under the effects of any intoxicating substances or having consumed alcohol or other intoxicating substances?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And how long have you known Jason Noble and Rebecca Noble?
About 5 years.
Okay. And has anybody from Clark County Human Resources or Clark County contacted you regarding this incident prior to today?
They have not.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're excused.
I'd next like to call Chelsea Sparks.
Good afternoon, Ms. Sparks. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
James Truffaut, I'll be asking a few questions. There's no need to be nervous. First off, same introduction that you've heard me give other people. We're talking about an incident that occurred in the fall of last year at the Dan and Shay concert. Do you have recollection of that evening?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you come to be at that concert?
I was invited by Becca and Jolie.
Talking to that.
I was invited by Becca and Jolie.
And when you say Becca, are you referring to Rebecca Noble?
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. There's just virtual attendees, so it's important that we try to talk into the microphone so they can hear us. When you got to the venue, were you by yourself or with other people?
I rode with the group.
Okay. And when you guys got to the venue, what happened when you initially got to the venue?
We went up and found our lawn seats and watched, about half the show before.
Right
Oh,
now.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to look at me. You can just talk right into
Okay.
there.
We just went up and found our lawn seats up and watched about half of the show before they invited us down.
Okay. And then what happened?
And then we were invited down to the pit where we spent the rest of the show.
Okay. And when you first got to the venue, were you in a picture with the group and some law enforcement and Rodney Harvey?
Yes.
And did you have occasion to see Rodney Harvey any other time that evening?
No.
And did you have occasion to interact with Jason Noble that evening?
Occasionally, yeah, but I mean, not a lot.
Okay.
Just a little bit down in the pit and when he came up
And-
to invite us down.
Okay. So in the grassy area and in the pit area?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you observe Mr. Noble being under the effects of or consuming alcohol or other intoxicating substances that day?
No, not at all.
Okay. And how long have you known Jason and or Rebecca Noble?
About 4 to 5 years.
Okay. And in what capacity?
Friends and coworkers. Becca is a employee of mine.
Okay. And have you seen Mr. Noble before when he is intoxicated or under the effects of alcohol?
Yes.
Okay. And did he exhibit any of the effects that you had seen previously that evening?
No, not even a little bit.
Okay. And were you contacted by anybody from Clark County Human Resources or Clark County prior to today?
No.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Amber, I butcher her name. Is it Rago or Rago virtually? If she is there, she's at work, so I don't know if she's able to come on. No. Okay, that's okay. RAGO.
And what was her first name?
Amber.
Amber Rago. If you're online, if you're a caller on there, if you want to raise your hand, we can go ahead and. Oh, you've unmuted yourself. Is that you?
It's me.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had to press *6. I just pressed the mute button. I'm here though.
Thank you. And do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amber, my name's James Treefry. I'm the attorney for Mr. Noble. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, James. Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a few questions about the Dan and Shay concert that occurred in the fall of last year. Do you have recollection of that?
Yes.
Okay. And then how did you come to be at that concert?
Sure. Jolie is my best friend. And she had asked, she wanted to rally a group together so we can all go to the Dan and Shay concert. I know Rebecca Noble really wanted to go. And Rebecca and the other gals are also friends of mine, but I've met them through Jolie. She, like I said, we wanted to rally a group together. Dan and Shay concert tickets were really cheap. So I believe it was Jolie that purchased the pack of tickets first, and then I had Venmoed her money for it. It was myself and 2 of my coworkers that ended up going separately. So we met the other 7 at the concert a little bit later. The 3 of us had gone to dinner in Ridgefield before attending the concert. And then we got there a little later. I want to say it was around 8:15. And I had called, I think it was Jolie. I called Jolie to try to find the group because, like I mentioned, we were there a little bit later. and music was already going. I don't think it was Dan and Shay just yet, but the other previous artists. Anyways, they came out to come meet me and my two coworkers. We took a quick picture, and then we went to go join the rest of the party out on the grass. When I got there, we sat, it was a big group of us, so those who were already there were sitting more so on one side of the area, and then me and my two coworkers sat on the edge. I said hello briefly to everyone. Like I said, we got there a little later, so everyone was enjoying the concert, and I was trying to take my seat and enjoy the concert as well.
Okay. And how long have you known Jason and or Rebecca Noble?
I want to say between 3 and 5 years. We met at, I used to go to the same gym. And like I said, Jolie's my best friend, and Rebecca and Jolie get together often, and we became friends that way as well.
Okay. And did you have any interactions with Rodney Harvey that evening at the venue?
I did not. I do not know who Rodney is.
Okay. And that evening, what interactions, if any, and where did you have with Mr. Noble?
With Jason, it was very few occasions. I said hello when he came and stopped by with us on the group. As I mentioned in my letter that I wrote in, he was busy. I hardly saw Jason, as of course he was working. So just minimal. And again, I saw him when we had moved up to the pit.
Okay. And when you moved up to the pit, did you see Mr. Noble again?
I did, yeah. He was standing behind us. Even though I was with the group, me and my two coworkers, because my two coworkers had just met the rest of the group. So it was more so with them. So we were more up front, and Jason was more in the back.
Okay. And when you say when he was in the back, was he in the back of the group or in the back of the pit?
Kind of by, like, towards the door. On the side behind us, I believe the pit, I don't know how it is actually, because I was paying attention in front of me, not behind me, but Jason was behind me, a ways by the exit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that evening in your interactions with Mr. Noble, did you notice him being under the influence or having consumed alcohol or other intoxicating substances?
No.
And have you ever seen Mr. Noble imbibing previous to that evening?
Have I ever seen what? I'm sorry?
Mr. Noble drinking alcohol prior to that evening?
You mean on different occasions?
Yes.
Yeah, we get together at Jolie's house on special occasions, and I wouldn't say I've seen him drunk, but sure, I've seen him have a drink when he's not working.
And so you've seen what he is like when he's drinking alcohol?
Correct.
And did he exhibit any of those signs that evening at the Dan and Shay concert?
No.
Okay. And were you with the group when they got upgraded into the pit, or did you get there kind of as they were being upgraded into the pit?
I was there. Like I mentioned, I was more so on the other side of the big group. I was on one end, so I didn't necessarily hear what was going on. Just everyone was shuffling our stuff and got up, and we figured out what was happening, and we boogied on over to the front.
Okay. And prior to today, were you contacted by anybody from Clark County Human Resources or Clark County?
I was not.
Okay. I have no further questions for you. Thank you for being online.
Thank you.
Ms. Rego, before you go, this is Commissioner Murray. I have a couple questions.
Of course.
With your upgrade to the pit, did you receive a wristband?
Yes.
And who gave you the wristband?
Dan and Shay security guard.
Okay, thank you. You're excused.
Thank you.
I would next call Jason Noble. Actually, I'm going to change that. I'll next call Mike Boyer.
Mr. Boyer, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Boyer, how are you currently employed?
I'm employed with Council 2 as a union staff rep
And for how long have you been in that role?
since February 1st of 2023.
And prior to that, what, if any, relationship did you have with Clark County?
I was employed by Clark County as a code enforcement officer in May of 2018, and then served as the local union president as well during that time period.
And did you have opportunity to review the report in this matter that was prepared by Human Resources?
Yes, I have.
And in that report, it refers to you as the local union president. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that is what's stated in the report.
And during any time during the pendency of the events at issue or during the course of the investigation by Human Resources, have you been the local president of Local 307CO?
No, sir, I was not.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would next call Mr. Jason Noble, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Noble. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. So Jason, I'm James Streetfry. You know who I am. I'm going to ask you some questions. We're going to talk about incidents that occurred on in the fall of last year at the Dan and Shay concert, and then thereafter. Do you have recollection of that day?
I do.
Okay. And what relationship do you have with Clark County?
I am currently a senior deputy fire marshal with Clark County Fire Marshal's Office.
And how long have you held that position?
It has been about 6.5 years.
And as part of your duties as a deputy fire marshal, do you have occasion to inspect and or be present at concert or other public event venues?
That is correct.
And as part of your regular duties, do you have occasion to be present as a representative of the fire marshal's office at the amphitheater where the Dan and Shay concert took place?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And what is the current procedure when you are acting as the fire inspector for concerts at the amphitheater?
I believe that the current practices for this season have changed. I am not aware of what those practices are. But last year, during those processes, we would usually arrive 1 hour before gates open to the public to conduct our full site fire inspection, to issue and grant the special event permit that allows for that concert to happen. And I got there that day, worked a shift from 6:30 to 5 o'clock, and then shortly before 5 o'clock arrived to start that inspection since gates opened at 6.
And then when you got to the venue, what was the first thing that you did?
The first thing I did before I got out of my vehicle was I texted Rodney Harvey, being that he was at that time the current general manager for Live Nation, that I had arrived.
And it's your understanding he's no longer employed there, is that correct?
That is correct.
And had you worked with him at that amphitheater venue previously?
I have worked with him. He was the assistant general manager shortly before that concert when he was kind of promoted to general manager, that only lasted for about 30 days.
Okay. And about how many of these concerts at the amphitheater do you think you attended as a representative of the fire marshal's office over those 6.5 years you've been employed?
I have worked at least 25, if not 28 concerts at the amphitheater.
And On the day in question with the Dan and Shay concert, you talked about the standard procedure at that time being arriving about an hour before. Had your procedures changed in the few years prior to that concert last year at the amphitheater?
Yes, we, previous to Live Nation, who technically the amphitheater is Clark County owned property, and it is leased, and then they sublease it to Live Nation. Previously to Live Nation being the sublease, the company before had different policies and procedures.
And specifically into like alcohol or venue ingress and egress, were there issues with Live Nation running the amphitheater different from the prior operator?
That is correct. Anywhere in community development, all departments should be aware that Live Nation needs to be submitting permits and getting authorization for changes that have been made to the property and things that do not meet code. And luckily for me, the fire marshal's office, since we issue special event permits, we get to be the face for Clark County for Live Nation.
Okay. And on the day in question at the Dan and Shay concert, you said you texted Rodney Harvey. Had you gone through any concert run-throughs with him prior in his role as the general manager prior to that day?
I have never walked with Rodney Harvey on an inspection, and then that day, Rodney did not walk with me until I had to send him a picture about something that I was concerned about.
And what was that item that you were concerned about?
There was what appeared to be stages that were under a tarp in an exit pathway between the lawn and the seats.
And I'm going to give you an exhibit that's not been marked or taken into evidence for purposes of identification. I'd label it as Union's proposed Exhibit 4. Can you tell me what that is?
That was the text strand of when I texted Rodney Harvey the picture and asked him if these are moving out of the exit pathway. And he responded back that they are part of a B stage and that he was walking to me at that moment to discuss. And I replied with, okay. He said, where are you? And I said, I am at the sound booth headed back up to these B stages.
I would move to admit that as Union's Exhibit number 4. And then who do I? If I might approach, I can give you a copy as well.
Yeah, with the software, you can see that without scanning it.
As it relates to you testified to what the content of the text message string is between you and Mr. Harvey. Can you talk about what the picture shows to describe it for those that can't see it who are online?
Correct. The picture is a pathway between the lawn seating and the fixed seating below. This is when this amphitheater was designed. This is designed to handle a certain amount of occupant load, and the width of that is required in case of an emergency so that people aren't getting trampled, and so we need to maintain that as a exit pathway.
And then after you sent that text message to Mr. Harvey, what happened next?
He arrived to me and told me very often how things happen at concerts at this amphitheater with Live Nation, that they got last minute notice that the band wanted to have stages set up in this pathway so that they could perform directly to the people on the lawn, and that there was nothing they could really do about that, and asked me if it was okay. Luckily, to an amphitheater that has an occupant load of about 18,000 people, this event being sold at 5,000, I was, as a representative of the fire marshal's office, I have the authority to make the decision that as long as it operated and I was present to witness this operation, I would allow it.
And were those the stages in the picture as they are or not set up? They're in their collapsed state. Were those stages ever set up at the venue that evening?
They were not, because they had upgraded enough people to no longer need to perform to the lawn.
And is that a standard thing that happens at that venue if they don't get enough sales for the concert?
Correct.
And can you explain why that is?
That is why.
Why? I'll scratch the question.
All
That's fine. And so you went ahead and reviewed that with him and talked about it. Then what happened next?
After that, he described with that, since the band would be walking off the front of the stage, then they have Live Nation security that then hold up ropes to hold people in their fixed seating, which is obviously a fire and life safety issue, which would have also been another reason why I stayed in attendance to the concert, to witness that and ensure safety of all concert goers.
Okay. And then what happened next?
After that, he left and I continued to finish the rest of my inspection. Once the inspection was done, I believe at some point we frequently walk in a circle, rechecking everything to make sure things are maintained. And part of that is that main exit pathway where one of my laps, I stopped by to see my wife and her friends.
And when you saw your wife and your friends, who all was present?
There was, I believe, the group of 10 of them. There may have been a couple that were out getting merch, or I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
who
And
would
was there anybody outside of your wife's group of friends who were there?
in the lawn.
No, when you just said when you initially saw them, when you were doing your loop.
Oh yeah, no, just them in the sheriff's office.
The sheriff, so the sheriff's
Yeah.
office, who like one person, two people?
Two sheriff's officers.
Okay. And was Rodney Harvey there as well?
He walked up, and at some point, I think Jolie was standing next to me, and I said, "Hey, this is Rodney Harvey. He's currently the acting general manager for Live Nation."
And were you there when the group took a picture with Mr. Harvey?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And then after that picture was taken, what happened next, or where did you go?
They proceeded to go up to the lawn seats. As the first act was getting on, we go backstage to verify that the stage setup meets code requirements. So I went back there for that.
And did you have occasion to get back together with your wife at some point?
Yes, like I stated earlier, walking around in a circle, verifying fire and life safety issues, would have stopped back up into the grass to say hi in one of the times that I was doing my duties.
And then when you saw your wife in the grass, where did you guys go from there?
After that, she said she wanted something from the concessions. I told her that the west side concessions is always slower because obviously we tend to work big concerts. So I took her over there.
To the slow side or the other side?
The slow side on the west.
Okay. And then what occurred at that point?
There was only one station open with very long lines. At that time, I was like, shoot, we should have gone over to the other side. And we were standing about 20 feet from the gate to the back loading dock.
Okay. And then when you were standing 20 feet from the gate to the back loading dock, did you try to get from one side of the venue to the other through the loading pathway?
With a loud venue, the best way I could, I looked at the Live Nation security that they open the gate for us regularly as we do our walk around. And I said, hey, she's just trying to get some concessions. Can we just walk across this way so that we can get, or do you want us to walk the long way around? And she appeared to say, no, you have to have, your wife would have to have credentials. And at that time we said, okay. And we turned around and we walked the long way over to the east side concessions.
And was that a male or a female that you interacted with at the gate?
That was a female.
And are you familiar with her? Do you know her name?
I don't know her name personally. Know her hair color.
Had you seen her before?
Yes.
Okay. And how close did you get to her at that gate?
20 feet because we were still on the pavement and there would be a sidewalk that we had not stepped on.
And you testified earlier about when you got to the venue. About what time did this take place with you and your wife at that concession stand and trying to get through that gate area?
I would believe it would be approximately 7 p.m. maybe.
So a while after everybody was at the venue?
Correct.
Okay. And then after you couldn't get through that way, where next did you go?
We walked through that center walkway between the lawn and the fixed seats over to the east side concessions, where then my wife purchased something from the concessions, and then she went back to the lawn, and I knew the second act was starting, and so I proceeded to the east side backstage gate, where again, Live Nation security just knows what we're doing. Open the gate, close the gate, walk to the backstage to verify the setup met fire and life safety.
Were you by yourself at that point?
Correct.
And then who, if anyone, did you interact with on the east gate?
There was somebody sitting in a chair. I did not have any interaction with anybody.
And then did that person recognize you, or did you have to identify yourself in some way to get egress into the backstage area?
No, they tend to know Clark County Fire Marshal staff. We also wear a Clark County uniform that has an emblem on the shirt.
And then after you did that check, what did you do next?
After that check, then I proceeded to do my walkarounds again, as usual, lots of footsteps. And yeah.
Others have testified that at some point you came up with a security guard from Live Nation who offered upgraded pit bands for your wife and her friends. Can you tell me about that?
Correct. There was probably another band before Dan and Shay. I went probably backstage again to verify before Dan and Shay got on. Dan and Shay was on stage. And at that time that I was backstage, I was observing the setup, and an unidentified man approached me and asked me who I was. I said I was the Clark County Fire Marshal. And he said, "Oh, you're the guy that wants to look at our stages and our pathway?" And I said, "Yeah, that's otherwise you have met everything, and I would have ended my shift and gone home. But because they had these stages, I needed to continue to be there." So then we proceeded. He said, "Well, let's go look at them." And on our walking from backstage up to those stages, I said, yeah, he mentioned that they were upgrading people from the lawn. And so to hopefully not use the stages, I did mention to Dan and Shay Security at this moment, I said, well, if you can give me confirmation that you are not using these stages, then I have no reason to be here anymore.
And it was Rodney Harvey who let you know earlier in the evening that they were going to potentially be upgrading people such that they wouldn't have to use those stages?
Rodney Harvey didn't, no.
Okay, it was just the security person for Live Nation.
Security for the Dan and Shay.
Okay. And then what happened after you guys did that?
We went to go look at the stages, and he was talking about not using them, and I said, yeah, my wife's here, but I don't enjoy this music, so I will, if you're not using them, I will go home and let them have their whatever time. And he said, oh, well, I'll go. And he walked up the stairs and offered to upgrade my wife and her friends.
Okay. And then what happened?
At that time, they packed up their stuff. They followed him. I was shortly behind because Dan and Shay Security was escorting me to talk about what I was there for. I witnessed him put wristbands on them. And then at that time, he told me that the band would be, if they're going to step off stage, it would be in 3 songs. and to remain in place over by the exit doorway of the pit for those 3 songs so that I could walk behind him and Dan and Shay as they walked to the stages.
Okay. And it was Rodney Harvey present when the employee gave the wristbands to your wife and her friends?
I may have seen him. I run into him very often throughout the evening.
Did you have any specific recollection of that though?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. And then, so you're in the pit area. You've got 3 songs to go. You're by the exit door. And so what happens then with the concert?
About 3 songs went by, and I was kind of like, well, what's going on? And then I noticed Dan and Shay security and kind of looked at him and said, what's going on? He said, oh, I forgot to tell you, we removed the stages. They're going to stay on the main stage. At that moment, I said, perfect. I no longer need to continue to be here. I said goodbye to my wife, waved to her friends, then walked into we park in the backstage area, walked in the east backstage gate, past the security that doesn't talk to me, and then left the venue in my vehicle and was home for about 45 additional minutes before my wife was home.
Okay. And in the report that was prepared by Human Resources, it kind of talks about you saying that you need to be present in case people like jump off the stage. At the Dan and Shay concert, was there any conversation about them jumping off the stage or just using these potential other couple of ancillary stages?
If you were to jump off of that stage, you would probably be highly injured. It is fairly high. So no, bands do not jump off the stage and crowd surf like you would see in movies. There's a ladder or a set of stairs that they would walk down.
And then so you ended your day and went home. Did anything remarkable occur to you between you and Rodney Harvey or any of the other employees of Live Nation or Dan and Shay's security detail?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And then subsequent to the day of the event, when you were there as the deputy fire marshal, what was the next time that you heard about anything regarding the events of that day?
That would have been a Thursday. So the follow after the weekend on a Monday, I had a coworker that had notified me. He said, hey, what happened at the concert? And I looked at him and I said, what are you talking about? And he notified me that Rodney Harvey had reached out to him in regards of getting Donna Goddard, at that time, that was the fire marshal for Clark County's contact, that supposedly Rodney wanted to get in contact with Donna.
Okay. And then what happened next as it relates to you?
In regards to that, I replayed the entire night trying to figure out what happened, and wanted to be upfront and honest as a past pastor for about 10 years. Honesty is always the best policy. And so I went to Donna and I said, the only thing I could think of would be that everybody was upgraded. It was not a special privilege. There was privilege given to all concert goers. And maybe that was what the complaint would have been.
And then what did you do next?
At that moment, that following weekend, there was 3 concerts directly in a row. And I, again, as a former pastor, just made the decision to remove myself from the next 3 to make sure that due process and correct things happen.
And then did you have occasion to leave a voicemail message for Ms. Goddard?
I did. I believe she was, I can't remember at this time being so long ago, but I believe she was on maybe vacation.
Okay. And then what happened next in relation to you regarding these events? Were you contacted by HR?
Yes.
Okay.
I was contacted by HR that we were having a fact-finding meeting in regards to an investigation.
And then was that through the Ethics Commission or directly from HR?
That should have been directly from HR.
Okay. And then did you have a meeting with HR at some point?
That is correct.
And what occurred at that meeting?
They asked me questions about drinking and if I get access to restricted areas, which it's Clark County property and there is no restricted areas. We do hear that after our initial inspection of like the green room building, we don't go back to allow band members have their space. If I was dishonest and asked a bunch of questions in regards to an investigation.
Okay. And at that point, were you aware of the allegations being made against you by Mr. Rodney Harvey?
I believe so.
Okay.
Not sure.
Did your interactions with him on the evening of September 12th of 2024 cause you any concern at that time?
Nope.
And had you had any prior run-ins or problems with Mr. Rodney Harvey specifically?
Not Rodney Harvey specifically.
Had you had other issues with other employees of Live Nation at that venue?
Just Live Nation as a corporation and how they operate that amphitheater.
In what regard?
When they first began there, liquor sales is their number one. So filling exit pathways with mobile beer carts, just standard fire code violations. I do know that they knocked out a wall of the amphitheater sound wall. They paved a ton of the grass and did not get Clark County permission for stormwater requirements. There are a slew of things that Live Nation has done to amphitheater Clark County property.
And at some point during the course of the investigation, there was in the allegations from Mr. Harvey, he indicated that you got to the venue at 3:30. Is that your understanding?
Yes, I believe I saw that in the Ethics Review Commission's, whatever got sent to me. The first box in that stated in Rodney Harvey's allegations stated that I arrived there at 3:30 p.m.
And was that accurate?
That was not. I would have worked my full shift in my office from 6:30 to 5.
And did you have occasion to request video of the parking lot at the venue during the time period prior to 5 o'clock, the date of September 12th, 2024?
Not at the venue.
Where at did you request it?
Our new office is not there. Our old office is the West Precinct out in Ridgefield. And there's cameras there. And I knew we work very closely with the Clark County Sheriff's Office Tactical Detective Unit as we testify in hearings of arson and fire-related crimes. And in investigating those fires, we use those rooms, their interrogation rooms, to question witnesses on fire investigation. And it has been standard practice that if needed a copy of that gets overwritten every 30 days. And I knew that alleged complainant Rodney Harvey was making false allegations against me and against my agency and against the county and against the fire marshal's office. So I reached out to the sergeant detective of the sheriff's office, Adam Beck, and said, hey, can you just save on a flash drive so the county doesn't lose this video footage of me leaving the parking lot of the West Precinct at 4:56 p.m.
And what did that video that you ended up receiving show?
It showed my county vehicle leaving at 4:56 p.m.
Which is not 3:30.
Correct.
Okay. And as part of the investigation, did you identify witnesses in your wife's party of friends to Human Resources that were there that day?
Yes. After speaking to some friends about the situation, and again, being a former pastor, thought honesty is the best policy. I have a list of witnesses that I can provide to the county against a complainant that filed false allegations against the county and me. And so they provided those to my wife, compiled them, and I forwarded them to the HR investigator.
Okay. The allegation was made that you either were consuming or were under the influence of alcohol or other intoxicants the evening of September 12th, 2024. Were you consuming or under the effects of alcohol or other intoxicants the evening of September 12th, 2024?
I was not, and I have never.
And when you say I have never,
in my during work hours in my career.
and is that just your career with Clark County or in regard to your other positions that you've held?
Other positions as well.
And what other positions have you held prior to becoming a fire marshal at Clark County?
Prior to here, I was a volunteer lieutenant with the Hubbard Fire District in Hubbard, Oregon. I got involved with them as a chaplain because I was hired back in 2016, 2015 as a children's and youth pastor for a church down there. And then in that process, also was the chaplain, and shortly later became the lieutenant, and drove on a personal note, instead of being a chaplain and seeing people in their worst moments and trying to resolve that, inspired me to have a career and passion in fire prevention to prevent disasters that require a chaplain.
And do you personally wear cologne or aftershave?
I do not.
And do you know your wife to wear perfume?
She does not.
And when you met your wife at the concert prior to going to the concession stands, did you notice if she had consumed any alcohol or was exhibiting the effects of having consumed alcohol?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And hold on one second. There's basically three main kind of allegations in the report that was proffered by Human Resources, two of which are before this body. We kind of talked about the alcohol primarily because it's in there. But I do have a question about that. Mr. Harvey in the report is giving second and third hand accounts of people saying that they've observed you drinking or under the influence. The evening of September 12th of 2024. You indicated previously that you had interacted with Mr. Harvey several times throughout the evening at the venue, but the report doesn't ever say that Mr. Harvey said that he saw you consuming alcohol or being under the influence of alcohol or any other intoxicants. Is that your recollection?
That's correct.
Okay. About how many times do you think you saw Mr. Harvey that evening?
I couldn't put a firm number on it, but maybe 3, 4, 5.
Over the course of the evening?
Correct.
Okay. And do you feel in any way you violated your ethical obligations of your position in regards to this particular incident?
Absolutely not.
And there were allegations that you made some specific statements, but again, these were related second and third hand by Mr. Harvey, who was dishonorably discharged from the military for committing a crime. What do you recollect about the specific interactions that you had at the east and west gates? We went through that previously, but I just want to know what you said or what was said to you by those gate agents.
Like I said, you can ask anybody in the Clark County Fire Marshal's office. They usually, if you get a nice security person, they'll open the gate for you. If not, then you open it yourself. Outside of that, the only interaction on September 12th was when I was 20 feet away on the west side concessions because there was a long line, and said, hey, any chance, because that is how I would go, and anybody in the Clark County Fire Marshal's office would go to get to the other side from that point, and said, anyway, you can just escort us so we don't have to walk the long way around. I don't even think that she could probably understand what I was saying from 20 feet away. And I just saw that she was basically shaking her head no, and knew as an ethical and good employee that that wasn't going to happen. So we turned around and walked the long way to the other side.
And when we're talking about that area, it's not the actual backstage of the stage itself, but there's a loading path that's like separated by basically a fence on either side, and that's the gate that you were at to cross across that path,
Correct. It's a loading dock.
not to go backstage into the actual stage facility.
No,
I have nothing further.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noble. I have a couple follow-up questions, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So you left a voicemail for Fire Marshal Goddard expressing your concern about what happened. What prompted that concern?
As I reached, like I stated earlier, I had a coworker reach out to me that Rodney Harvey had reached out to him, wanting Donna Goddard's contact information in regards to an incident that had occurred. And like I stated earlier, being a former pastor, racked my brain for many, many hours. And the only thing I could come up with in that moment was maybe he was trying to say, since my wife was upgraded, that I used my position for that. So I wanted to get out ahead and in front and be honest with my manager. So I left her a voicemail to get a hold of me in regards to something that I wanted to inform her and be upfront and honest about.
Thank you. Regarding your friends or your family getting wristbands or getting moved to the pit or backstage or wherever, did you tell anyone at the event to let it slide and turn a blind eye?
Absolutely not.
Did you ask anyone at the event for a favor for you or your family or friends?
Absolutely not.
Commissioners, any further questions for Mr. Noble?
I do not have any other questions.
Commissioner Baskerville, I didn't hear you. Did you say no further?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, no, I said no, but somehow I got muted again and I don't know what happened.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no further witnesses.
Council, would you like to do a closing statement?
Yes, I would. First off, I find it abhorrent, the lack of due process that has been engaged in this particular proceeding. I've been engaged as a criminal defense attorney, doing general counsel work on behalf of a labor union. I've got a corporate HR certification. I have been a municipal administrator. And in this particular circumstance, the procedure for the hearing wasn't followed. I did not have the ability to cross-examine sworn witness testimony, which is what is outlined in the hearing procedures for this type of circumstance in front of the Ethics Review Commission. And that's one of the bases for my objection is there's to be a case, there's to be testimony, exhibits offered, those words are specifically present, and I don't have the ability to cross-examine that testimony. So I think the procedure is irregular and has not been followed, and so I want to make a record of that. Second, I think as far as weight goes, you've heard sworn testimony by multiple witnesses that directly contradict, and you have factual information based on time of day with the recordings and the text messages that have been provided that contradict the primary complainant's testimony. And he indicated that he had given the group 4 bands. The group was between 8 and 10 people. He was not present when they were upgraded by the security for Dan and Shay to move up in the facility venue. There's all kinds of problems with the set of facts as they are being presented in the Human Resources report. And that's primarily because an adequate investigation was not done. Witnesses were not contacted, names were provided, statements were given, contact information was given. There was no effort on behalf of the county to seek the truth in this matter before it was given over to the Ethics Commission. It is what I like to call the spaghetti case, where we just see what sticks to the wall. And it has been a slander upon Mr. Noble that we've had to have everybody come up here and give testimony to contradict allegations that should have never made it to this point. And so I've got multiple objections, and I just want to get those out. I don't think the preponderance of the evidence given the sworn testimony and the lack of sworn testimony from the complainant and not having heard directly from Human Resources in making their case, I would ask that the commission find that Mr. Noble did not violate his ethics. His wife and her friends were treated no different than anyone else at the venue when they were upgraded from their seats in the grassy area and moved up into the pit, so that they did not have to use the ancillary stages. Mr. Noble did not stay at the venue once it was apparent that they would not need to be using those ancillary stages. He did not try to get his wife into the backstage area, but tried to take a shortcut path over basically a loading road to get from one side of the venue to the other, because there was only one food vendor open on the side that they were at. I don't know why Mr. Harvey has made these allegations against Mr. Noble, but as I called out in my questioning of Mr. Noble, Mr. Harvey says that every other person at the venue smelled alcohol or saw Mr. Noble be intoxicated, except for him, who was the main person that interacted with him throughout the evening. And so I think it's telling that there's nothing but contradictions in the complaint that's been made against Mr. Noble. The character of the person making those complaints is suspect. He was no longer employed within a short period of time after briefly being promoted to the position of manager of Live Nation at the point in time that these allegations were made. And I would ask that the Ethics Review Commission find that Mr. Noble did not violate county policy, did not commit an ethical violation, and clear his good name.
Thank you, Council. Well, I assume I speak for the other commissioners, but I guess I can only speak for myself, that we appreciate your presence and participation here today.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we'll go into executive session to discuss what we've heard today, and we'll be back out in.
I believe we have noted, it's point of order again, Amber Smith here, 10 minutes. So we will come out of executive session at 4:21. Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Council.
I just want to make sure that when I was reading previously the administrative procedures that have been promulgated pursuant to code for the Ethics Commission, when it talks about a hearing and those things, the business process for the ethics complaint, which is the process that we basically use today, is in conflict with that and wasn't promulgated. It is not the official procedure of the commission. And I think that may be part of the misunderstanding that the county's attorneys had or that the commission had. So I just want to call out that those two things are different and they conflict with one another. And I was going by the part that was promulgated and is official. So that was part of the maybe miscommunication that we had at the beginning.
Thank you, Council. We appreciate that, as well as all of your comments and your excellent advocacy today. And I thank everybody here for coming and participating. We're back out of executive session. And in my view, without Mr. Harvey here or anyone presenting in support of the complaint, it's nearly impossible to form a clear impression about what happened here. If the allegations in the complaint were true, then I do believe that an ethics violation would have occurred. And I want to point out that under HR policy 13.1 sub 2, a county employee cannot solicit or accept a benefit by reason of their position. But here, the wristband recipients testified that they received the bands from security, not from Mr. Noble. And none of these witnesses testified that Mr. Noble was drinking or intoxicated at the event. So I cannot conclude by a preponderance of the evidence that a violation occurred here. I do want to point out that I am a little bit concerned by Mr. Noble's end run around the proper procedures to access county video footage, but that's not before us today. So I'll be voting that we rule that a violation did not occur here and dismiss the complaint. Would either of the other commissioners like to speak?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Darcy.
Okay, sorry that I'm on the phone. This is the only way it worked. I am in a complete agreement with Commissioner Murray.
Yes, I concur with that, and also think that if there was something to be heard otherwise, we would have heard it, that someone would have had the interest. So I concur.
Is there a motion?
I move that the events do not constitute a violation of any ethics code in Mr. Noble's case.
I second that motion.
Okay, those in favor of the motion to rule that no ethics violation occurred and dismiss the complaint, say aye.
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 That's all three of us, so that's unanimous. So that is settled. We now, well, I guess we'll go on to the good of the order. Anyone have anything for the good of the order? I do not.
I do not.
No.
Okay, we are adjourned then. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'll see you all at the next one.
Okay.
Thank you.